Hi, I'm Rasta Maice from Rasta Maice Painting, and I'm here today at Weekend Warlords, and I'm going to be doing a review of a couple of airbrushes, and I'm going to do a little test, a little bit of painting with one of them, so give you a bit of feedback on my opinion on these airbrushes. So I've got two airbrushes. I've got the Harder Steenbeck Ultra. This set comes with two needles, two nozzles. This retails at about £80. We also do exactly the same airbrush, but just with the one needle. All right, so I'm not going to open this one today. This one's already been opened and I've been living with it. So I'm going to get this out of the way. And I'm also going to be reviewing the Iwata Neo. So this one's hitting you at about the £80 price mark. And the one without the second needle is hitting you at the £60 price mark. The Iwata is coming in at 68 quid. So what I'll do is I'll open them up and I'll let you have a look at them. First of all, I'll start with the Harder Steenbeck. So this one comes in its own nice little plastic case. Let's open it up. So Harder Steenbeck, very well known airbrush manufacturer, very highly thought of, and straight away, and like I said, I've lived with both of these airbrushes for a little bit. So I'm not just getting them out of the box and talking about what I see. I'm going to give you my honest feedback. It's a very well machined piece of kit. It's got a lovely weight to it. I mean, you can just see the attention to detail that's gone on in this. This kit comes with two cups. They just pop out cups. You've got a 2ml cup and a 5ml cup, easily pushed in and out. It's got a nice feel to the pull. This is dual action gravity fed. Gravity fed meaning the paint comes from the top and doesn't need to be sucked up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a little unscrew, because this is also key to when you're using an airbrush. Back comes off nice and easy. The little screw lets you release tension on the needle. Needle pulls out, easy peasy. So the front end's where if you're going to get any trouble and you need to get into it to clean it, this is what you want to be unscrewing. And this one has a lovely little feature that you unscrew the front nozzle, and inside is the second internal nozzle, which just pushes in and out. No need for any spanners or unscrewing of anything like that. So when you need to do an intensive clean, that's the way to do it. It screws back together nice and easy. You can see it's machined really well put together. This has obviously not been built by monkeys on any level. Let's screw the end back on. In that pack, in the more expensive one, it does come with a separate needle. So it's supplied with the 0.2 needle. And it also comes with a 0.4 needle, which is quite big. It also comes with a separate end, so there's no need, I mean, your 0.2 needle is not going to fit inside that end cap, so you need a new end and a new nozzle, which it's all supplied with. Lovely bit of kit. Well impressed with packaging, quality of production, great airbrush. 0.2 is very fine. So the Iwata is 0.3, 0.5. So there are some issues arising from the 0.2 needle. So I'm generally speaking to you about the use of acrylic paint as a medium. So acrylic paint, certainly the airbrush stuff I'm using, tends to be a little bit thicker. The Ultra suffers a little bit with hypersensitivity at the 0.2 needle on your paint mix. So you're looking at a really thin paint mix. I've used thin and medium with paint, and it does works great. I suppose the only negative I've got, it's got a nice pull action, but I do actually feel this one, it's almost so well machined that you get to a point where you've got all or nothing with the pull, which I found a little bit harder to get used to and maybe not as comfortable with. But I suppose if you're using enamels, you're using a thinner mix of paint, or you're using washes, this is a great with the 0.2. The 0.4 is great for larger areas, working on bigger pieces, doing terrain, bigger models, you want a base coat, varnish. Great, really good. So I'm just going to move on to the Iwata and compare the two, so it gives you a little bit of a comparison. Oh, this also, by the way, nice little instruction book, which is going to give you a few little tips, how to take it apart and a few airbrush exercises, and like a problem solving. So if you do have issues with clogging, how to go about cleaning it. That I like very much. I do believe all airbrushes should come with a little manual like that. Let's just slide this back in the box, and I'll move on to the Iwata Neo. So £68. I'll start straight off. So certainly out of the two, this is my favourite. This is the one I really enjoy, and has become my current airbrush, which I won't go back. So the comparison, again, nice weight. It feels well machined, well made. I can't see any real manufacturing issues with this, although it's maybe a different price point, slightly cheaper price point to the Harder Steenbeck. It also comes with 2 cups. It comes with a smaller, I do believe that's a 2ml cup, and a 5ml cup. This one, however, comes with a cap for your paint cup. That is just such a good idea. That's one of the things the Harder Steenbeck lacked. When I use my paint, I mean, I'll mix paint up. So, for example, this lambda I've got here, this is a black lambda where I've done grey highlights, but I've worked continually around the lambda for 2 or 3 hours with paint in the cup, and it hasn't dried on me and it hasn't clogged on me. That's to do with this cap. When you don't have a cap, the air hits the inside of the bowl and it will dry your paint, and that can end up leaving little bits which will clog your nozzle. Loving the cap. So let me unscrew this one. Same sort of principle. Back unscrews nicely. Little clip there that holds your needle in, needle out. So now this one, slightly different at the front. It's got 2 separate parts. So you've got the front, it's kind of like an air guard, and you have this back part. Now this unscrews, and this gives you access to your internal nozzle. Now, unlike the Harder Steenbeck where it pops out, this one is supplied with a little spanner. And you need to be careful that you don't get this wrong and spin your thread out, but that allows you to undo this inner nozzle if it ever clogged and you need to soak it and clean it out. Generally though, I have found this airbrush to be incredibly forgiving with paint and cleaning. It's really good. You can go from colour to colour. This is the one I'm going to use in the test today, without all of this malarkey. But if you do need to strip your airbrush down, it's probably advisable if you're spending the day using your airbrush. I'll show you later on how to clean between colours. It's always advisable at the end of the day to break down and really give it a good old cleaning out. But I'll just get this all screwed back in together and get the needle back in, and I'll show you how the cap works, the paint cap. Let's get that on and the back on. So, swapping the paint reservoir, unlike the Harder Steenbeck, is not a push on. This one actually just unscrews, so that you can change from the small cup to the big cup. And the small cup's great. It doesn't come with a lid, but when you're using that, you're going to be using like a spot colour. I still like a big cup, personally. It gives me, it's forgiving. I get a bit carried away and go like that, and all of a sudden I've got paint all over the place. This gives me a little bit more play, so I haven't got that problem. So let me put back the big cap. Also, cleaning. This is a bigger hole here. It allows you to get in there and clean a little bit more thoroughly. The Harder Steenbeck, let's get it back out of the box, has a very, very small aperture into where the paint would be fed. And this can cause, I've found, real issues with cleaning in the sense that you can't always get right in there the way I'd like to get in there. And going from colour to colour is a little bit more time consuming because I tend to have to pull this off, clean this separately, clean in there. But with the Iwata, I'm able to go from colour to colour nice and quickly. Look at that, I've got confused there and put the wrong one in the wrong box. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going mad here, wrong box, it's okay, it's an early day. Right, so, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a little bit of painting with it, because it's all well and good me talking about it, but I think it'd be nice for you to just see it being used. I'm going to use the Iwata Neo. I really like this airbrush. I think I've said that a few times, but I'm going to keep saying it. It's certainly my current airbrush. I'm going to screw this into my compressor, straight into a water trap, before the brush. I like a water trap before the brush. I've got one at the compressor end, but I like the safety of the second one. It's just going to stop giving you any condensation through your airline, which can ruin your work basically. So let's switch on and get some compression. Lovely, lovely pull. It flicks back really easily, which I found with some airbrushes the pushback's not as good, and so you can end up getting paint when you want it to stop. So what I've got is I've got a piece of plastic that I sprayed black last night, and I've put like a blue fade, which you'll see underneath, and I'm going to use a couple of airbrush masks. So I could do a test where I just write my name with it, but it's not very often I do anything like that with an airbrush. I will use an airbrush with on unmasked things to put fades in colours, but you're not really going to get to see anything from this. I'd like to let you see like a finished piece of something that I would maybe mask up on a model, just to show you how I can feather a colour with this brush and how controllable it is. So I've already got an airbrush mask, nicely supplied to me by Mr. Dalton at ProTech Models. I'm going to give him a big shout out. He does all my masks. I'd be lost without him. So I've got my Sabine logo that I use on everything. And I've also got another mask which has got my name in Airbrush, Rasta. So I've already given this a white base coat just to save a bit of time. The great thing about this brush is I can go straight to paint. So I'm going to go for a yellow. Let's have a look what we got here. Sun yellow. I'm going to start light. I'm colourblind, by the way, so this takes me a little while because instead of just picking colours like you lot do, I have to read the labels. So we've got moon yellow and golden yellow. So I'm going to start with this moon yellow. Give it a bit of a shake. And then all I need to do, I don't need much, is I'm just going to put 2 or 3 drops. Oh, there's a big old dry bit of paint. Let's get that out of there. Let me just pop that there. Bit of a spillage. Right. So, cap back on. I've got a little bit of card just to test out that I've got paint coming through. And I am going to give this some yellow. I'm going to try and leave some of that white. This is what I want you to see, how controllable it is. It's a lovely, so gentle, the pull on this. It's so controllable. I'm sure we'll cut in some music when I go quiet, when I concentrate. But that'll do. That's got me yellow because I want to leave some white at the front. Lovely, really nice. So, colour change. This is how quick it can be. It doesn't need to be a big palaver. This airbrush is great for this. All I've got here is I've got your standard, this is an old soup pot, and I've got a bowl of water, a little squeezy top. This is how I do it. So I fill up my paint reservoir with water, and I take an old nylon brush. This is just the cheap old thing from any old shop. I don't use it to paint with, I just use it to clean. Get in there, give it a scrub, get that paint loose in that water. Do not spray out, ever. Tip it out and repeat. It should just take a few seconds for you to get this done. You can see each time I do it, the water's getting cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. Till I get to that point, look, that water's almost spotless all of a sudden. It's taken me a second or two. Let's have a little look in there. Looks clean to me. Once it's clean, then you can give it a spray out. Do not spray paint to try and clean your brushes. This is where everyone goes wrong and they clog their machines and then they end up in a world of trouble. So, one colour. Just going to move on straight away. Going to go up to red. So I don't need to go mad with shades because an airbrush allows you. Is that red? That's flesh. You see? Colour blindness. It's a great thing. That's red. Airbrushes allow you to create multiple colours with one shade of paint because of opacity when you're putting paint on. So you don't need to have a million different shades. You can do, don't get me wrong. You can spend as long doing this as possible, but I don't want to bore you with a 2-hour demonstration just to do a couple of stencils. So you give it a little spray through. Lovely, I've got paint, and here we go again. I'm just going to, now the red, I want to try and keep it just on this back edge. And they're nice and strong at the back. And then you can pull away and dust. Happy days. I'm done with the red. I'm going to give that a clean out while that dries, and then I'm going to move on to a second mask, which is my name. So let's give that a clean, same process again. I like the squirty bottles with the water. It's great, gives you a little force. You don't need to run to the sink, you don't need to do anything like that. Get it out, almost clean, straight away. It's really important. This is what I do for a living. And if you have an airbrush that's constantly causing you grief and not spraying well and not allowing you to change colour fast, it's going to really impact on painting time. And a lot of the models I paint take 20, 30, 40 hours as it is. So if I start adding 6 and 7 hours of just grief time, it's just not good for me. So I've done that. That's had a bit of time. In fact, let's just use some air to make sure that's dry before I peel this mask off. So the masking tape I'm using is just frog tape. I also use stuff from Tamiya, smaller masking tape. It's really important. A lot of people wonder about how you get very clean results. Mask. Use your masking tapes. Look, you can see the overspray straight away. If I hadn't masked, that would have affected this background colour. You don't need to mask the whole model. You just need to mask around the areas that you're working. So I'm going to peel this mask off. If it's going to come off for me, be a good boy. There we go. And that should leave. Look at that. That's already looking beautiful. So you can see that. So I've got a lovely little Sabine logo there, which I'm very happy with. And now I'm going to apply my second mask. It's my name. It's in Airbrush, Rasta. It wasn't what I was christened, but it's what I've adopted. So I normally wear gloves when I work. However, I found if you wear surgical gloves and try to use these masks, they stick to the gloves more than it sticks to anywhere else. However, if I was doing this for a commission, I would be putting the masks on, then re-putting gloves on. Shouldn't be touching your surface that you're going to paint with your hands, because you'll release oils and ultimately can affect what you're doing. A little bit of masking tape around the edge. Nice and quick. That, I do believe, is Princess Leia calling on the Rebel communique about an impending attack on the Rebel base. And Poe Dameron's gone to answer it and see what's going on. Disaster averted. So, masked up. I want to do a blue and white fade on this. It's kind of like my calling card on how I write my name. So I'm probably going to start with a blue, and then I'll catch the edges with the white. I think it's going to be the best way to do this. So once again, let's have a look. That's purple. Magic blue. Blue. Electric blue. That's a bit light. Let's try this magic blue, ultramarine blue. So these are all Gay Mare colours. Also sell these here at the store. I love this paint. I paint with this paint. It's lovely and thin. I mean, when I use a brush, I will put a little bit of thinning medium. I like my paints really, really thin. But this stuff, when you're working with an airbrush, there's no need. I'd normally use these sort of things and mix paint up with medium to get it to the right consistency. Not everything's airbrush, but these airbrush, I find, are just phenomenal. You can just go straight out of the bottle into your airbrush and work. So, a couple of little drips. Let's get a spray through. Basically, I'm just going to base coat this in blue. It's the white that's going to give me the highlight. So whenever you're working over a stencil, you don't want to bombard it, you want to lay it on. Now I'm just doing some air, dry that up a little bit. And going back again. If you bombard it with paint, it's going to leach underneath and it's going to damage your work. I want to get a nice strong blue on this. I reckon that's about it. So let's put that just there for a second to dry while I clean my brush, and I'm going to go to white for the final stage. You can see how quick I've gone through. Well, I've already done three colours. 1, 2, 3, 3 colours. I'm going to go on my fourth. Most people get obsessed with cleaning and think it's a big deal. It's not. If you do it like this, you won't have a problem with your airbrush. If you leave your airbrushes and let them get all filthy dirty and clogged up, then you're going to have a problem. And they're never going to really work for you properly again. Even with soaking and cleaning, it's not right. This is seconds of work. It's nothing. It's just like you washing your brushes out at home and getting a different bit to put a bit of paint on a palette. So I'm going to make sure that's nice and clean because I am going to white. Spotless. Just spraying the excess out. Right, and on to the final colour, which is the white. So we're still a bit wet. Let's just dry that up with some air. Hair dryers are always good, as you can tell. I need a hairdryer. Right, bit of white. Now all I'm going to do is try and catch, I'm not even in shot there, sorry about that people. All I'm going to try and do is catch the top and bottom of the letter with some white to make it look like it's got a blue fade going through. I could have probably done this the other way around, it really made no difference. Paint it white first, put the blue in the middle. So there we go, over to white. So you're working on the edge of the stencil. You don't need to start. You can see how controllable this brush is. It's just lovely. It's got such a lovely feel. And once you get to that point that you want, it's giving you that paint the whole time. Really super impressed with this brush. Super impressed. Right, I'm going to pop my cap on so I don't have to clean it and it will stay okay. I'm going to pop my lids on, my paint, and now I shall demask this for you and we shall see the finished results. So, gently does it whenever you're unmasking anything, take your time. Let's get this masking tape off first. These masks, if you're careful with them, you should be able to reuse them. I mean, you're going to get so many uses out of anything before you end up needing to change it and get a different mask. But nice and gently. It's really important that if you're using masking tape, you use the specific modelling ones, or this is called frog tape for decorating, and it's like a low tack, but it's got a paint seal. So it really helps to stop the paint bleed. Let's just get that. Look at that, look at that. Right. I'm sure you guys can see it. I'm sure John's going to do some magic with his zooming in or whatever. In fact, I might even hold it up for you. So you can see I've already done the blue on the actual bit of card, but you can see, look at that. So I haven't been working for very long. I've used an airbrush. To try and obtain that sort of fade with a hand brush is such a lot of work. The things you can do with an airbrush are just Yeah, they're unparalleled, especially on something as small as an X-Wing miniature, which is so fine. And once you start putting on thick paint, you are going to destroy the levels of detail. So yeah, look, there you go. Really happy. I really love the Iwata. I like the Harder Steenbeck as well, don't get me wrong. But for me, day to day, the Iwata's where it's at. I'd give the Harder Steenbeck, I'd say 7 out of 10 as an all-round airbrush. It's a great bit of kit, and you've not gone wrong. And probably if you're using enamels, that's the brush for you. And if you're going very hyper fine work, that'd be the brush. For day-to-day use with acrylics, the Neo, I'm going to give 9 out of 10. I'm not going to give anything 10 out of 10 until it blows my socks clean off and basically paints the model for me. And nothing's ever going to do that. But £68 for an airbrush that will last you a lifetime as long as you clean it out. And it just gives you such results. You're never going to be upset with the outlay. It's going to something that keeps giving. I mean, I can spend £10 on a brush and it'll last me 3 months and it's dead. So these airbrushes, I live with them, and the more you live with it, the more you'll learn to do stuff. I mean, let's see if I can get this in shot for you. So let's have a look on the camera here. Here we go. Nice, okay, John. So you can see that these grey fades and even this blue-white that I've done, these are all done with airbrushes. This is all airbrush work. All these edge highlights on this model are done with an airbrush. So it is practice, it is time, it is masking, but it's not as hard as you'd think. You work in a small area and you can create paint effects that are just, yeah, they're going to make you really happy, and that's really important. If you're doing this as a hobby, even if you're doing it as a job, it's important to get some satisfaction out of what you're doing. Certainly with vehicles. I've not used it too much with figures yet. I will be though. I've got to paint a Luke Skywalker Jedi figure, which I'm quite interested to see how I'm going to get a nice grey fade on his black outfit with an airbrush. I think it's quite possible. So, all in all, 2 great airbrushes. The Neo gets my vote personally. Not much more to say really, apart from thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is kind of the first of a bit of a taster of some videos we hope to be doing, covering different painting techniques, hopefully a few more airbrush reviews, paint reviews, modelling tool reviews, anything that's going to kind of help you out and push you on with your hobby, or if nothing else, just something fun for you to watch and see how I go about creating the things I do. So, one love to all of you. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you guys again soon.